Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we've got a beer that should be really quite interesting. I'm quite excited to try this one. So this one is half Dutch, half English, and it's brewed at Left-Handed Giant in Bristol. So for the Dutch side we're going to go to Haarlem in the Netherlands, and we're having a taste of my first beer ever actually from Het Uiltje, which basically means the little owl. So this beer itself is called Woodland Creatures. It's a pistachio and honeycomb milk stout, and it comes in at 6.9% ABV, so it should be a really interesting beer, this one. I've had a good experience with the Left-Handed Giant before. The last beer that I tried from those guys was it was an IPA, I'm sure, or a double IPA, and it was really quite nice. But as I say, my very first encounter with Het Uiltje, but as we know from previous reviews, the quality of the Dutch craft beers is pretty damn good. So looking forward to trying out another brewery, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, it's a link to my other reviews that I've done from Left-Handed Giant before. There's also a link down there that will take you to my future reviews that I'll do from Het Uiltje. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, like I said. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers reviewed for you, and also another one for all the Dutch beers as well. This beer will appear in both, of course, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, first off to my brewery notes, to Left-Handed Giant then. So as I've told you before, Left-Handed Giant are based in Bristol, and they were founded by Bruce Gray. Now, Bruce has been quite active in the craft beer scene for a number of years. He actually started out as a junior pro golfer and then moved into management in the golf clubs and learned the licensed trade there. So he moved to Edinburgh in 2009 and worked managing bars before relocating to Aberdeen to open and manage the original Brewdog bar next to Marischal College. But he was also involved in opening 7 other bars with Brewdog, but left the company after 2 years to found a craft beer wholesaler company, and also the Hanging Bat bar, which is in Edinburgh as well. That's a really damn good bar if you find yourself in Edinburgh, so I highly recommend that. But after a year he sold his share in both companies and he relocated to Bristol, founding 3 different companies. So one of these was Left-Handed Giant Brewing, Big Beer Distribution, which of course is another wholesaler, and also Small Bar as well, which is rated as one of the best craft beer venues in the UK. But they've also opened up a second bar just over the water in Cardiff now. Bristol, of course, very close to Wales, but at the moment they are operating in the St Phillips area of Bristol, but they're trying to open up their own brewery, and they've just bought a 4,000 square foot premises in Bristol city centre as well, which will be a brewery, bar and restaurant, and the brewery will be operating a 15 BBL kit. But they also hope to be able to develop their sour beers in the future as well. But a very highly rated brewery. I think they're very close to opening up that brewery facility from what I was seeing on Facebook quite recently, but should be a really quite nice venue when it opens up. But Bristol probably is one of the best beer cities in England at the moment, if not the best, of course. Leeds is supposed to be very good as well, so I do need to go back to Bristol and explore it a little bit more. I need to go and check out Leeds as well, but there's some very good craft beer breweries going on, opening up in England these days, and Left-Handed Giant are one of the ones that you definitely want to check out. So as always, I'll put the brewery website and stuff in the description for you below. You can have a look at that, follow them on Facebook and things, and you can keep up to date with all the things that are going on at Left-Handed Giant. They are quite a prolific brewery, so they do have new beers and stuff coming out really quite regularly. But that's all you need to know about them just now. On to Het Uiltje then. So Het Uiltje are from Haarlem in the Netherlands, which is out to the west of Amsterdam, of course quite close to the coast actually. But this company was founded by Robert Uileman. So the brewery name apparently means the little owl, and it is actually taken from Robert's name. But they started brewing in 2012, and before that he'd been home brewing for around a year and a half, and he basically started home brewing because he was sick of lagers and Belgian beers apparently as well. Of course, Belgian beers for us are a bit of a novelty, but in the Netherlands, of course, that is one of the things that, you know, a lot of cafes and stuff do serve Belgian beers, and you know, I guess after a while you would want to try something a little bit different, and that's basically what he wanted to do. He said that he really liked IPAs and pale ales and stuff like this, so that was what really started him off brewing them for himself. itself. But they invested in a new brewery in 2015, and this brewery was up and running by September 2016. It's equipped with a 4-vessel 40 hectolitre system. They've got 11 different fermentation vessels as well, all of different sizes, and they also have a barrel room that's got room for over 300 different barrels. They were saying they had rum, wine, whiskey and all of these sorts of things as well, but they've also got a small 300 litre pilot brewing system as well, which is quite cool. So they are sort of still sticking to their home brewing roots, albeit on a little bit of a bigger scale. But they do have a tap room at the brewery as well, which serves pizza and barbecue. It's got board games and all of these sorts of things. It had two cask beers, like English style casks, when I was looking at the pictures, and it had somewhere in the region of 10 taps as well. But they've also got a beer bar on Zielstraat, which is in the centre of Haarlem, and this has around 30 taps and also apparently serves pizza and barbecue and things like that. And they were saying that they had somewhere around, along the lines of about 150 or so different bottles as well. So it's a bit of a kind of craft beer haven, if you like, in the Netherlands. But that's one of the things about the Netherlands that I've always felt when I've tried some of the beers that they're producing there. It is quite a shame because, you know, they're right in between Germany and Belgium, and of course countries with huge brewing heritages, but the quality of the craft beer that comes out of the Netherlands is really pretty damn good. They do some great stuff there. So if you do get the chance to go to the Netherlands, really just enjoy yourself with the craft beer. There's some really great breweries there. I mean, De Molen are probably the best known one out of all of them these days, but you've got, you know, you've got Brewery Keys and things like that as well. Uiltje I've heard a few good things about recently, but there's a lot of good breweries in the Netherlands now, so it's definitely a country that is quite famed for its craft beer these days. So I'm glad that I'm finally getting to review a beer involving these guys, and hopefully I can do a dedicated review to them at some point in the future. So it is cool to see that they are collaborating as well, and they do seem to be a fairly prolific brewery as well if you check them out on Rate Beer and things like that. So yeah, again, I'll put the Facebook page in the description for you below, and the website. You can follow them and keep up to date with all the things that are going on. But I'm glad that I'm finally able to do a review for this brewery. So yeah, that's all you need to know about both the breweries. As I say, check out the links in the description below, but we'll get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So like I said, it's called Woodland Creatures. The hops in this one are Bramling's Cross. It comes in at 6.9% ABV. The malt base is Maris Otter, Carafa 3, Caramel, low colour chocolate, and also crystal. The yeast in this one is SO4, and they've also added some pistachio nuts, honeycomb and lactose to the beer as well. But just look at the artwork on this, just check that you can see on the camera there. You can see the owl, of course, for Het Uiltje, and you can see on the side, this is the left-handed giant symbol at the top. This is the Het Uiltje symbol there as well, and it gives you the sort of stats of the beer on the side here as well. But it should be a really nice one, this. I do like the artwork for it, and as I say, it's very cool to be trying my first beer from Het Uiltje as well. And this is the first dark beer that I'm having from Left-Handed Giant as well, which is pretty good. As I always say, when you try a craft brewery for the first time, or when you're just getting used to a craft brewery, you always want something from the darker side of things and something from the lighter side, so you can get an idea of the scope of their brewing. But let's get it out and we'll get on to the tasting then. There was a wee bit of smoke came out on the opening, but we'll get the rest of the beer out and into the glass. That's a really dark milk stout. I have to admit, I don't think I've seen a milk stout come out quite as dark as that before, so that's quite interesting. So if I hold it up to the light, you know, it is pretty much, that's a sort of ebony colour. There's not even really that much of a ruby edge to it. Really, that's one of the darkest milk stouts I've ever seen. But you can smell some of that nice lactosey character just coming out of it as you're kind of moving it around. But you can see there's a solid half finger or so of a frothy, I would say dark tan head on this one. If you sugar it back up, the head will start to come out a little bit more. But yeah, looks pretty much as you would expect from a stout beer. As I say though, I don't think I've ever come across a milk stout that's quite as dark as that. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, not many at all actually, and there's actually very little in the way of small carbonation that's visible to this one. But you know, it may well just be because of the colour of the beer that it's difficult to see it, to be honest. But yeah, looks as you would expect for a stout, but as I say, a little bit darker than a lot of the milk stouts that I've come across before. But let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Ooh. I'll tell you something, that smells like a really beautiful beer, to be quite honest with you. It just smells lovely. Oh, yeah. So, straight away, with it being a milk stout, the lactose is forming the backbone of the beer. it's almost got a little bit of a kind of medicinal quality to it as well, which is quite interesting. I wasn't quite expecting that. But yeah, a lot of sweet milky chocolate in there. You can smell there's a little bit of a higher kind of, a high cocoa chocolate in there as well. But a lot of sweet caramel too. Yeah, it's almost got a little touch of toasted quality to it, but overall the aroma of this beer is malt forward, as you would expect with this style, right enough, but it really is a very sweet nose that this beer has. A lot of nuts coming out. You can smell the pistachios there. The pistachio nuts really are kind of jumping to the fore with this one. And that, I wonder if that's maybe what's given it that almost medicinal kind of aroma, if you like. There's definitely a sort of medicinal quality to this beer. There's maybe even a little bit of a touch of a woody note to this one. Yeah, it has a little bit of a milky quality to it, which is quite interesting. Yeah, definitely. It's really got a lovely aroma to it, this beer. As I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you get stuck in. But for me, the lactose forms the backbone of the beer. There's a lot of sweet chocolate to it. Definitely a bit of a darker, high cocoa chocolate coming out as well. The pistachio nuts are really obvious in this one. The brown sugars are there. It has got a bit of a sweet kind of caramel note. There's a little bit of a biscuity quality coming out as well, and that'll be the honeycomb coming out of the beer. And there's a wee bit of a kind of soft earthiness as well, which will be the Bramling's cross hops. English hops, as I've always said, I've never been a great fan of English hops in like golden ales and IPAs and stuff like that. But with dark beers, that's where English hops for me really are at home. But yeah, it smells really nice, this beer. As I say, it does have a good bit of medicinal quality to it, this one. But overall, it's one of the more interesting aromas that I've come across recently in terms of stouts. So as I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. But I really just want to try this beer now. So this one is the Woodland Creatures, a pistachio and honeycomb milk stout, a collaboration between Left-Handed Giant from Bristol in England and Het Uiltje, who are from Haarlem in the Netherlands. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål, cheers, Prost. Ooh. That's really quite nice. It's actually a good bit lighter in the mouthfeel than I was expecting it to be honest, but it's a lovely beer. You always want things that are going to test your palate, and this one certainly does that, but it is, you know, it's really well done, this. You need to take a few sips of this and sugar it around your palate just to open it up properly. In terms of the mouthfeel of the beer though, if you think like a kind of English cask beer, that's the kind of smoothness and that's the kind of mouthfeel you're getting out of this one actually. That's lovely. That really is, it's just a lovely beer, this one. And it's not one of the sweetest milk stouts that I've come across, right enough. But it's just really well done. It's quite a complex beer, this one. So yeah, with this beer then, I would say there's a nice sort of, there's a little touch of a wee bit of a black malty character to this one, which I'm guessing will be the carafa. You can feel that just forming the backbone of the beer. On top of that, you've got the nice kind of brown sugars in there. The brown sugars coming out really nicely. The caramel flavours in there are quite, to me, they come across as quite toasted. They come across as a little bit sweeter in the aroma, right enough. And the honeycomb biscuity flavour, that's just kind of forming, there's this almost kind of U shape right in the middle of your tongue, and the honeycomb is just coming out there. The honeycomb starts to come out a little bit more as you creep towards the edge of your palate. And for me, the nutty flavours are just behind the kind of front curve of the tongue. It's almost right in the centre of your palate. That's where the kind of pistachio nut flavours are coming out of this beer. But the lactosey quality to this one, the sweet chocolate, the lactose and the chocolatey qualities are just spreading all throughout this beer. The lactose you can feel kind of mixing in with that sort of underpinning of the beer. There is almost just a little touch of an almost kind of bready quality to it, but the lactosey flavours are sitting in the just near the back sides of the palate, but in a little bit. It's really interesting, this one. There's a hell of a lot going on in this beer. It really is. The complexity to this one is just really, really nice. And in terms of the hoppy side of the beer, it's pretty straight up, to be honest with you. In the back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there in the back corners of your tongue. This beer really doesn't have much in the way of IBUs at all, to be quite honest, but that nice smooth earthiness just spreads all the way forward. But you get a little touch, there is a little touch of grassiness to this one, just round the front curve of the palate. There's maybe a little bit of herbal quality in there, which you can sometimes get from English hops. But yeah, there's a little tiny bit of red fruity quality to this one as well. So as I always say, if you just go behind the front curve of the palate there, that's where you get that little oily bubble where those nice fruity juicy esters start to come out of the beer. For me, this one, it just has a little touch of an almost figgy flavour coming out of it, or a very slight kind of candied strawberry or something like that. So you will feel that. But then a little bit of that, there is a little touch of a kind of roasted black malt, just starts to push that off the palate, which is quite interesting. That roasty black malt thing, which I'm sure it's the Carafa that's given it that element. I always remember Carafa giving you a little bit of that roasty black malty quality. You can just feel that pushing the red fruits off the palate a little bit. So it's interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on in this beer, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again. It is really, really nice. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say mid-bodied, this one, on the lower end of mid-bodied. Carbonation is really, really smooth with this one. In terms of the mouthfeel, you know, if you compare it to like an English cask ale, it's not too far away from that. There's a bit of sweet chocolate in there. Like I was saying, the malt base does lean towards the sweeter side of things, but later on you get a little touch of the roasty qualities coming out of it, which, as I say, I reckon is from the Carafa. It has a little bit of a kind of medicinal herbal quality to it, the mouthfeel in this one as well. There's a little touch of bitterness from the hops. The malt base mainly is quite sweet, but later into the flavour, like I'm saying, you get a bit of roastiness out it, and there's a little touch of a kind of juicy fruity quality to this one as well. But pretty much this beer is kind of as you'd expect. The nutty flavours linger there into the aftertaste, the milky lactosey flavours are sitting there as well, and you can pick up a little bit of the honeycomb, and the honeycomb gives it this nice kind of biscuity flavour in there as well, which is really nice. I mean, basically this is just a really good stout. That's a good way to sum it up, to be honest. It's complex enough. It's one that's going to kind of test your palate a little bit. So, you know, share this one with a friend and try and pick out all the different flavours of things. That's what I really like about this one, but it's really just a lovely, lovely beer, this. So have a go at it for yourself and see what you think. And this one makes me very curious about the other Uiltje beers. So I need to try and have a go at one of their IPAs and another one of their stouts and things like that. And, you know, it shows Left-Handed Giant can do some really good dark beers as well. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. So this one was the Woodland Creatures, a pistachio and honeycomb milk stout. And it's just, you know, it's come across really nicely, actually. It's a really, really nice beer, 6.9%, and they've done a great job with this. So yeah, so once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are, both from Left-Handed Giant and from Het Uiltje. Hopefully I can return to both of these breweries in the fairly near future, but they've done a lovely job with this one, and I'm glad that I got to review this. So until the next time, please check out all my social media and all these kind of things, and I will catch you guys very soon with more beer reviews. Woodland Creatures from Left-Handed Giant in Bristol in England, and Het Uiltje from Haarlem over in the Netherlands. Until the next time, it's landed just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Proust.